But all of that ends today because with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
Thank you.
President Trump signs an executive order banning men from women's sports. And the liberals are melting down, predictably. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we call out lies, hypocrisy, corruption, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters because truth conquers, and truth is conquering. But you can't conquer anything unless you are strong. Luckily, here to help us get stronger is Nature's Multivitamin, grass-fed beef liver. It makes your metabolism fast, energy high, and cravings for crap absolutely low. I think it's time to get stronger and healthier because it won't happen by accident. Get your grass-fed beef liver at ancestralsupplements.com/JPReacts and use discount code JPReacts for 15% off. Now let's get into it. President Trump signs an executive order banning men from women's sports. If you have common sense, what you realize is this protects women. It is an executive order for women. So their sports, their physical safety, and their opportunities are protected, where women competing in women's sports are just competing against, well, women. If you're liberal and don't do the common sense thing, you'd say this is discrimination. Men who identify as women also want to compete in women's sports. I get it. I identify as a kid, and I desperately want to compete in Pee Wee football. I just want to be a 193-pound middle linebacker against a 50-pound 8-year-old because I identify as the same age as him. So where are my rights? I don't like this discrimination. So liberals, I completely empathize with you. In a second, we'll see some predictable clips of liberals melting down over, well, women being protected. But first, here's about a 40-second clip of President Trump explaining this executive order, what it means, and what high schools and colleges and middle schools, elementary schools, how they will be penalized if they violate this law.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding.
I like that. If you violate this law, you're going to be investigated and you'll lose your federal funding. In other words, schools that aren't willing to be principled and do the right thing, they'll at least hopefully be motivated by the money. It's like, yeah, you want to have your 7-year-old girls changing with a man. You don't care about protecting them from predators and just having common sense, decency, privacy. You don't care about that because you are just a bunch of crappy human beings. But we're going to withdraw federal funding from you. They're like, well, we're money motivated. We're not do the good thing motivated. So maybe we'll comply with this. By the way, shout out behind President Trump. I know this video's slightly blurry. This is Riley Gaines, aka Riley Barker. She's been probably the most vocal voice standing up for women's rights in sports, aka get men out of women's sports. She was the best female swimmer in the country, and she always was awarded second place because the 462nd best male swimmer in the country, Leah Thomas, was always awarded first place during her collegiate swimming career. Wow, look at all those hysterical women angry that their rights are being taken away by having their rights protected.
So this will effectively end the attack on female athletes at public K-12 schools and virtually all U.S. colleges and universities. I don't think we've missed anything, but if we do, we'll make it up very quickly with an order.
Now let's hear what some liberals have to say. This apparently is a representative from Trans Equality magazine. If I use common sense and see with my perceptions, it's very obvious that this person was born a male. XY chromosomes kind of thing. You know what I mean? And as you can see from the pronouns, she, her, goes by she, her. So this guy is speaking up for women. You won't find many women speaking out against this executive order. What you find is men speaking out against this executive order. Yeah, they're dressed like women, but it's men speaking out against this executive order. You're protecting women's rights. No, you're not. This is Discrimination. Yeah, we are literally discriminating against anyone who is not a woman. That's what women's sports is. It should be incredibly discriminatory. If you are not a woman, you do not play here. We need a lot of discrimination to keep this the women's category. But nonetheless, let's hear what she, her has to say.
There is absolutely nothing about the price of groceries, the price of gas, the price of housing that is going to be improved by making sure that a trans girl in 7th grade can't join her school's volleyball club.
That is politically insightful. She, her must be a political scholar. There is nothing about the price of groceries, gas, or housing that is addressed in this executive order that is in no way designed to address those prices. We'll get back to the video in just a second, but first I want to say this. I think health is everything, and having abundant energy is the most precious resource in life. That means my enemy number one is low energy and high stress. So I'm always looking for ways that will effectively help me reduce my stress and boost my energy, and that's why I love Bond Charge's red light therapy devices. And here you can see me in front of the Bond Charge Supermax panel. I have found it incredible the upliftment in my energy that I get from doing red light therapy. I always find my energy is improved, my stress levels go down, my quality of sleep goes up. And other problems that red light therapy has been shown to be very helpful with would be wrinkles on the skin, sore muscles, arthritis, and low testosterone, amongst others. And I love the Supermax red light panel because it gives me a full body immersion into the benefits of red light. And because of red light's anti-aging effects on the skin, I also use the red light face mask. If you want to truly boost your health while reducing your stress levels and boosting your energy, check out Bond Charge's red light therapy devices at bondcharge.com/JPReacts and use discount code JPReacts to save 15%. Also, to save more, just know that all Bond Charge products are HSA, FSA eligible, giving you up to 40% tax-free savings. That's bondcharge.com/JPReacts. Enjoy. Now, back to the video. This executive order that bans men from women's sports, all it does is ban men from women's sports. So I really do appreciate this political commentary from she, her. It is incredibly insightful. All it does is prevent a 7th grader from joining their school sports teams. And it actually doesn't prevent that. It just says you got to join the team that's based on your actual gender, not your identified gender. Now, I would imagine people on TikTok have a lot of other scholarly things to say. So naturally, let's hear what another liberal guy has to say about protecting women.
I know that this is like saying water is wet, but Trump does not care about women or girls' sports. Neither does any of these Republicans.
Hence the executive order to protect women and women's sports.
Banning trans people from competing in sports. Because here's the thing, right? Y'all say that you care about girls' sports and all this, right? Why is there only this focus on trans women competing in sports? And then on top of that, if you care about kids and you want equality for kids in sports, why are we focusing on banning trans kids from competing in any sport?
They're not banned whatsoever from competing in any sport. They are banned in competing in the category that is not their actual gender. So you can have a 11-year-old boy who says, I'm a girl. Him, her is saying, oh, he can't compete in any sports. No. He can definitely compete on the boys' team. That is that little boy's choice. We're saying he can't compete on the girls' team because it's the girls' team. He can compete on the boys' team, or he can not compete. This is just more great, scholarly, rich material.
Instead of maybe, I don't know, creating a category for them to compete in sports.
They got a category. It goes by gender.
Because they don't actually care. It's about power and control. And I think that part of this is...
The ban men from women's sports industrial complex is working again, ladies and gentlemen. Just trillions of dollars to be made in keeping men out of women's sports. Yeah, that's right.
Also, Trump trying to clean up his image when it comes to women, because we know he don't give a damn about women. Baby, with what he said about his own daughter, Okay. And what's even funnier is that if you know even a little bit of trans history, then you know that trans people competing in sports is not a new phenomenon.
Let's hear a little bit about how the propagandists are covering the executive order.
And potentially bullying. So look, this is a really controversial issue for so many, but yet has been a cornerstone of Trump's campaign, and he's delivering on a campaign promise.
Yeah, it's potentially bullying. That definitely checks out. ABC News. It's very controversial. It might be the least controversial thing in the world ever. It's the most common sense thing. Now, before we get to the surprise ending of this video, here is President Trump at the executive order signing ceremony, listing out opportunities that have been stolen from women due to men competing in the women's categories. I found some of this pretty darn shocking.
Female athletes have been forced onto the front lines, and men claiming to be girls have stolen more than 3,500 victories. That's a lot.
3,500 victories were stolen. That is a lot.
And invaded more than 11,000 competitions designed for women. Last year, a male cyclist posing as a woman competed in the 800-mile Arizona Trail Race, a very big deal in cycling, and obliterated the women's course record by nearly 5.5 hours. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it, huh?
A guy obliterating the female course record by over 5 hours. I guess she just trained a lot harder and maybe had completely different biochemistry.
5.5 hours, but you have to hear the weightlifting record, Zafe. You think that's bad. The weightlifting's worse. In 2023, a man in women's powerlifting broke 2 world records and outlifted his closest female opponent in one event by 440 pounds.
No, that doesn't. That's a guy competing with women, no matter how you slice it, by over 400 pounds.
And they continue to defend themselves, Mr. Congressman. You know that, right? They continue to defend themselves. We hope they continue onward because I don't think we can lose a race. This was one of the big reasons that we all won, and it's one of the big reasons that we had a record, a landslide like they haven't seen before.
I love President Trump every which way, and I have to point out it's so hilarious when he's going through these statistics, but he has to do an interjection boasting about how well they did, how popular he is. I honestly love that about Trump. I'm not criticizing it. I'm pointing it out because I think it's hilarious.
And who could forget last year's Paris Olympics where a male boxer stole the women's gold medal after brutalizing his female opponent so viciously that she had to forfeit just after 46 seconds, and she was a championship fighter. And actually they had 2 women or 2 people that transitioned, and both of them won gold medals, and they won them very convincingly. But all of that ends today because with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
You can hear all the heartbreak in the crowd. And quite honestly, the heartbreak is real in this guy, because I don't think there's anyone else you've known that has competed in more women's sports than me. So today I'm shedding a tear. It appears as though, by way of President Trump's signing the executive order banning men from women's sports, my female sporting career is over. And just taking a moment to reminisce about my accomplishments. As you can see, I was awarded the best female swimmer in the world. This was 2 years ago, and people loved me as a female swimmer. You can see 6.9 million views. That's pretty good. You can see President Trump, he rather condescendingly referenced those men who won gold in women's boxing, and I was one of them. As you can see here, I actually did quite a bit of women's boxing. I found it exceptionally fulfilling to brutalize women who weren't able to defend themselves against my skill and harder work ethic. So I shed a tear for that. My female weightlifting career, President Trump mentioned one competitor beat the second place by over 400 pounds in just one lift. That was me. I found female weightlifting to be far more enjoyable than male weightlifting for me. It was just more empowering. It felt more true to me to just make sure I always got first place. That was part of my true self-expression. So With this executive order, you might be out there saying, hey, this is a victory. Just know that this guy, he's at home right now shedding a tear. Women's sporting career has been ripped out from under me. This isn't fair. This is complete discrimination. Let me know what you think about this executive order in the comments. I'm not even going to read them because I don't know how to read. I'm part of the illiterate community. I mean, I identify as knowing how to read, but it somehow doesn't work. And my dear freedom-loving friends, I'll see you on our next video. But until then, stay free.